Be with me this morning as I continue our study into Galatians, and just pray, Father, that I will be able to bring this letter that Paul wrote to the Galatians in a way that we can understand it and we can apply it to our lives, Father, and make us better Christians. And just pray, Father, that you'll be with those of our number that are sick, especially with Betty Moore, Father. Just pray, Father, that you will give her the strength that she needs to get over this, and just help with her clear her lungs, Father, so that she can breathe on her own. And just pray, Father, that you'll be with the rest of their family as they are struggling with this, and those that are sick. And just pray, Lord, that you'll keep us safe. Forgive us our many sins, Father. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. We are still in Galatians. Oh, that was wrong. We're still in Galatians, chapter 5. We didn't get very far last week. I think we did, one verse? So that's great. I enjoy that, because that means we're studying it and going through it. And something happened there. Nope. Me and this remote do not get along. So, anyway, any questions or comments about what we studied last week? We talked about the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit being love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. No comments? Okay, well, thank you. Right, and I had never really paid attention to that, that it's one fruit. That's what we need to be. You know, when you look at the fruit of a tree, it's all apples, but it's made up of all, different kind of apples, or different size apples, or whatever. And with us being a Christian, we need to have this fruit of the Spirit. And then going on in verse 23, and against such there is no law. Is that true? Yes. Now, we have laws against murders and drunkenness and revelries and hatred and idolatry and things like that. But against, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, I doubt you'll find a single law against any of those attributes, any of those fruit in any country. Okay? There's no law against those. And that's what we need to be, how we need to be living our life every day.
Closest you I think would be the example of Esther.
Okay.
And
No, not Esther.
Daniel. And Daniel, when they were
Ruth or Daniel, okay. And be careful what you're about to say.
And Daniel and they were told not to do not pray to God.
Okay, that's all you can say.
No,
Go ahead.
that's all.
Okay. I don't know what it is about this congregation that y'all just love to talk about my lessons and my classes and, yes. Yeah, I don't know if y'all are just watching over my shoulder or tied into my computer or just like mine, but yes. Yes. I'm just going to stop you. Just, that's it. Can't say any more. But I've never been in a congregation that just, we're just so intertwined that it's like you're reading my mind. And yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay. Yes, we are in Galatians 5. Yes, sir.
There is no law. Now, I'm thinking about law.
Right. Yeah, there's none of.
Talking about U.S. law or Spanish law or German law.
Right. Yeah, there is no Mosaic law against these, and there are no civil laws against these attributes.
Just like we're real close to a lot of things that there are laws.
Right.
That's human law.
Right.
That's where Daniel, the law not permit the word of God not to happen.
Right.
There are laws, human laws.
Yes, there is.
That's where the laws of God.
Right. And going back to verse 16, when we started this study, it says, I say then to walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. This is what we need to be doing every single day. We need to be walking in the Spirit. We need to be walking in love and joy and peace, walking in patience and kindness and goodness, walking in faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's what we need to strive for every single day. We take a step, we take another step, walking in the Spirit. We need to always be trying to walk in these 9 attributes. Okay? These 9 fruit. That needs to be our goal every single day. And when we're doing that, the lust of the flesh has no room to enter our life. Okay? And I think this is very important, for us as Christians to understand and to lock into our brains, because this is how we as Christians need to be walking, because by doing so, then we do not walk by the flesh, which is adultery and fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, and heresies. Okay? Envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like. Those things we shouldn't be practicing. That should not be a part of our daily walk of life. Okay? Any questions on those verses? Verse 24. And those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. So when we have put on Christ, when we have become a Christian, when we are baptized into Christ and put on His name, we need to do away with those lusts of the flesh, don't we? We need to get those out of our life, get those out of our mind, and not try to do those anymore. And is it hard to do? Yes, it is. Okay? It's just like with anything. It's easy to be bad and do the wrong things. It's hard sometimes to do the right thing. Okay? And so it's got to be a concerted effort that we strive for every single day. That we want to walk in the Spirit. We want to walk in the fruit of the Spirit. Okay? Is there something not right, Jeannie? You're looking up there and looking at your Bible like there's something. Oh, that is in Galatians 5, verse 24. You got it? Okay. I just happened to see that lost look on your face. You're looking up and down, and I just want to make sure. So we have crucified the flesh. We mean we're not wanting to do with that anymore. All right, any questions? If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So if that's what we're going to do, if we're going to live by the Spirit, we need to walk by the Spirit. What does that mean to walk by the Spirit? Okay? Live our lives that way, do as we claim, walk the walk. Okay? Now, does that mean we're not going to stumble? No. We are going to stumble. There are going to be times to where we're not going to be doing one of these 9 attributes, okay? One of these 9 fruit. But that doesn't mean we can't get back up, okay? You know, when you walk on a trail and you're looking ahead, you don't look down, and you trip over a stump or a root or whatever, You regain your composure and you keep going. And it's the same way in our Christian life. We're going to stumble. We're going to fall. Okay? I've fallen out in the woods, and it hurts. Okay? I twisted my left leg one time with it because it was on a little bit of a muddy hill, and my foot slipped and went down, and I ended up hitting a root, and it ended up twisting my leg the other direction than what I wanted it to, and I ended up in a brace. But I didn't let that stop me from walking, you know. I learned from my mistake and paid attention to where I was walking, and if it was in mud, slippery mud, you know, on a hill, you take precautions against it. And that's how we have to be in our Christian life and our Christian daily walk with Christ, is we need to realize what makes us stumble. What are our roots? What are our stumps in our life and our walk that's going to make us trip? And we need to avoid that, don't we? The same way when you're walking down the trail, oh, there's a muddy hole, I'm going to walk around it. You know, in our daily walk with Christ, oh, there's something that's going to make me stumble. Whatever that is, and you know what your stumbling blocks are, then you need to do the same thing and walk around it. Avoid it. You know, turn off the computer, turn off the TV, pull out your Bible, pray. Whatever you need to do to avoid that stumbling block that the devil is putting there specifically to make you stumble, because he knows your weaknesses. And he's going to use those weaknesses against you to make you stumble. It's just like any battle, any war. You know, one side is looking for the weaknesses of their enemy, and they're going to use that to win. And it's the same way with the devil. He's looking for our weaknesses every single day and looking for ways to make us stumble. You know? Yeah.
Whenever I was out and about doing work and that, it wasn't a big rock that I was tripping. It was the meaty one that I'd step on, throw my foot loose off and that, but I'd end up all of a sudden on the ground.
Yeah, and
It's not, you know, the big things are so obvious, you can avoid it.
yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good analogy. You know, if you're coming up and you see a snake in the middle of the path, you're going to stop and you're going to go around it. You know, or if you see that big rock, what? Okay, you know, and that's obvious. Okay, wow, there's a snake. I'm gone. I'm around it. I'm whatever. You know, and or if there's a big rock or a big stump or a big root, you know, you're going to take concern. You see it, but like Garrett said, it's the little small things that you might not see. You know, maybe there's some leaves covering over a root that trips you up. And so that's what we need to, how we need to be, how we need to walk every day in our Christian life, is looking for those stumbling blocks, looking for those things that are going to trip us up. How's Satan working at me today? Where am I low today? And sometimes we can see that. You know, we can sense it in ourselves that are, you know, we're just low spiritually for some reason, you know, and maybe we need to work on that. Kathy? Mm-hmm. We become what? Complacent? Right. And that's a good point too. You know, we've walked this trail all the time. We've walked our life, you know, this way forever, and we start getting complacent. And what happens when we become complacent, we let our guard down. Like she said, you don't look down because, oh, I've walked this trail forever, you know. And then the devil uses that time when you're weak, when you're not paying attention, to make you stumble. Right.
Too high on yourself. And that's too high, thinking you're too good.
Right. Yeah, we always need to be wary, because the devil is what? Watching, but what does he refer to as? A lion. Okay? A lion seeking whom he may devour. Have you ever watched the wildlife shows out in Africa and they start showing the lions, and they're panning and they go, oh, there's one. And you're like, I don't see a lion. I don't see him walking around. And they'll zoom in, and in the grass that he's the same color as, he's laying down, and he'll move, and they go, oh, there he is. And that's how the devil works. He's laying in wait, trying to get you at your weakest. And what does he do? He's sitting here, he's watching this herd of antelope or water buffalo or whatever wildebeest run by, and who's he looking for?
The weakest.
The weakest. Okay.
Babies.
The babies, the lame, the older ones that are slower. Okay. He's looking for the one that he can get at. And that's what he's doing, and the Lord used that analogy for a reason. Because we know a lion. We know how he hunts. We know how he works. And that's what he's out there every single day around us, hiding, looking how he can get at us. Yes, ma'am.
Garrett, 1 Corinthians 10:12 says what Garrett was talking about. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. I don't know if that's the verse.
Yes. Okay.
Don't quite sound what I was thinking of, but it's probably.
We'll go with it.
But it's just like, I watch those wildlife things occasionally too, and they're really a lot of cool. And the one I seen the other day was two antelope were fighting.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of other ones around, but as they were busy fighting, you could see the lion in the background coming and coming and coming. But they were so busy fighting that they didn't notice him until the last instant and chomp.
I've seen that. I've seen that video.
And we tend to do that sometimes too. We fight over the itty bitty little stuff, and not noticing the devil is sneaking up on us.
Yeah, and that's a good analogy. I like that. And it could be two very healthy wildebeest fighting each other, but they're what? They're distracted. And the lion, the devil, uses that to his advantage. Oh, they're distracted doing something else, and he's got us. Okay? So we can get distracted with all kind of little petty things or other options, other things that are going on in life. And we've turned our back on the devil. Did you have something?
Well, I kind of thought all along too that you might have a weakness, but until you let the devil know it, he doesn't know it. And it's when you say it's gambling, and you kind of have a weak, you know it, but you don't participate in it or anything. But once you participate in it, that's when he knows that you have that weakness, and he starts working that.
Right.
To bring it more into a bigger part.
Yeah. Kathy was just telling a story that I'll share for the whole group about being distracted. We had gone down in Eugene, Oregon. They have a drive-through wildlife park, a safari. And we were going through the lion area, and it's a secluded area. They got it all, really fenced in and gated. And you drive up and you tap your horn, and there's a guy inside sitting in a safari Jeep that's got these huge Nerf balls or Nerf bars. It's like 4 or 5 inch bars all the way around his truck. He's totally surrounded in this. And he sits in there with a little gate opener. And so you drive up, you beep, he looks, it's safe, he opens the gate, you drive in, he closes the gate behind you. So you're locked in a normal car. And we had gone around, it's just a little circle, and we had driven around, and there's warning signs and everything, don't stop, roll your windows up, don't stop or anything else. So I broke all those rules. But we came around, because I'm a photographer, and came around, and there's a hill And up on top of the hill was this gorgeous lion. Beautiful mane. He was silhouetted with, with the sky behind him. And I told Kathy, I handed her my camera. I said, roll your window down real quick and get a picture. And so she's sitting there trying to get a picture and take a picture and everything else. Well, I just happened to notice over to this side was a lioness. And she's crouching and coming down. And I see her. Kathy doesn't, because she's, through the camera, she's focused on this. And I start screaming to Kathy. I said, roll your window up. Hang on a second. Roll your window up. No, wait a minute. Roll your window up. And so she finally, what is it? And I guess she sees the lioness coming towards her, and it was the old-timey, roll type of thing. Well, she goes to roll the window up, and her leg's sitting there, and she hits her leg. And she kind of freezes, oh no, what am I going to do? It's like, move your leg, And so she realizes it, and just as she gets the window up, I kid you not, the lioness right up to her window.
Saw down her throat.
Holy
cow.
And had she been, 5 seconds slower, the lioness would have been on her and pulled, grabbed her and pulled her out of the window or whatever. And that's how it is. It's just that easy, that quick to get distracted and focused on something else, and to take your mind off of the real threat of the devil, being as that lion. And just that quick, she could have been.
That's what he's doing up there.
I know it. He is. He was distracting her.
Not like the tigers with the kids.
But I got even. Well, not even, but I had, side note here, in the back of the truck, I had a styrofoam cooler. We had spent the weekend over at Newport with some friends, and I had caught a bunch of Dungeness crab. And I had boiled them up and put them in this cooler and covered it with ice. Well, I did not know it till later, but that cooler was leaking. And where I stopped, this crab juice was dripping out of the back of my truck and had formed a little puddle. And I took off and left. Well, we go back up. When we get finished, we go to the gift area. And we're sitting there walking around the gift area, and this older ladies come in. Oh. It was just devastating. I don't know what we would have done. It was just scary as everything. And I, go over to see what she was saying. She goes, yes, we were going through the lion area, and all these lions were gathered up on the road, and we had to stop. And she said, when we stopped, one big lion jumped up on our car, and it just scared us to death and everything. And it's like, then I started laughing, because that's when I had realized it. When we got out of the car, or out of the truck, I smelled something. I saw the puddle behind the truck. He was like, yeah, that was me. And so all the lions come down to lick up that crab juice. And so, anyway.
You lion baiter, you.
But I didn't realize it. I just started laughing. I looked over at Kathy, and she was laughing. But anyway, that's how the devil is. And that's what we need to realize every single day. We can't be complacent. We can't be distracted. We can't look away, because he is there, ready to trip us up and make us sin. Not only just these here, but it says there, and the like. Okay, so it's not just these sins. There's more to them. Anything that's like those. And then verse 26. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, and envying one another. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 5. We finally made it through. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another and envying one another. And again, that can go back to the analogies we just talked about, that Garrett brought up as far as the fighting amongst each other, okay? Because that will distract us, and the devil can come in and attack us, okay? And make us sin.
Or worrying about things that don't matter.
Okay.
Instead of our spiritual life, it's like, what color are we going to, what color chairs are we going to get, or whatever. And that makes no difference whatsoever.
Because it might clash with my
Exactly. But yeah, you're going to, somebody goes this color, somebody else goes that color, and then you've got to fight, and it's nothing to do with your spiritual life.
That's it. And that's what it is. It's taking us away from what we need to be doing, focusing on God, and when our eyes are focused on that, then we're less likely to trip and stumble and sin. Okay?
The chairs and years come from that rock that they used to have to sit on.
That's true.
Any questions or comments on chapter 5 and what we've looked at? Fine, we'll just go to chapter 6 then.
I think we already covered it a whole bunch.
We did, and that was great. It was wonderful. I've loved these last two classes. All right, chapter 6 of Galatians. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Okay? A couple of things here. If a brother is overtaken in a trespass, a sin, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. Okay? What does that mean?
You love the person, so you don't want to hurt them, but you want to help them.
Okay.
And you have to do it in that, carefully.
Do we like for somebody to point out our weaknesses? No. Do we like somebody to point out when we're doing things wrong? And I mean anything. I mean, you could be putting up something, mowing your yard, and somebody come out and point out to you, oh, you're doing that wrong.
The thing we do is get mad when that happens.
Yeah, we usually get mad, don't we? And we usually close up, don't we? So I think it's very important when we have a brother or sister who is sinning or has fallen away that we use a love, joy, peace, tenderness, kindness, goodness when we go and talk to this brother or sister, and talk to them in such a way that we understand, we're on the same level. We've sinned. We can't go in up here, can we? We can't be standing on our pedestal and be looking down on them. Yeah.
Well, Paul was one of the best examples of that. For all of his letters, he starts out by giving a certain level of praise. Then he starts into any issues there are.
Right.
He doesn't start in by saying, listen, you guys are all messing up. You're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong.
Right.
He starts out by telling them what they're doing right.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And you don't go in there, with a brother or sister and say, you know what, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know why you're doing this. You go in there with love. You go in there with tenderness and kindness. Okay? And, you say, hey, look, I'm a sinner too.
Yeah.
I'm a sinner too. I'm not any better. But you need to stop whatever it is that you're doing and come back.
I think that's
Okay.
the latter part of that, consider yourself.
Yes.
Because since you're not perfect, don't expect anybody else to be perfect.
Right. Well, and he also says there, it says, consider yourself, lest you also be tempted.
Yeah.
So, is it easier to be pulled to the good or pulled to the bad? Pulled to the bad, isn't it?
Well, I think part of that being tempted also would be being tempted to think you're better than the other guy.
Right.
Because you're pointing out his problems.
Right. Yeah, you could be pulled into sinning thinking that you're better, you're selfish and whatever. But I can also see it that you get pulled into whatever it is that they're doing. So we need to be careful. We need to be ginger when we're talking to a brother and sister who is doing something wrong. Now, how do we know that they're doing something wrong?
Because we should be involved in their life.
Okay. We should be involved in their life. We should know when something is bothering them. Maybe they're not showing up at services, when they've been faithful all along, or all of a sudden they're not showing up 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Hey, what's going on? That's my phone. Yeah, it's a flip phone, so it still has a piece that comes out. But we need to be aware of what's going on when things are not doing right. Maybe they're here, but they're not here. Okay? Maybe they're here, but they're not as happy as they usually are. Maybe they're not talkative as they usually are. Maybe they're just in and out, and you can tell that that's not who they normally are. Okay, something's wrong. Chase them down. Follow them out to the car. Is everything okay? You doing all right? Okay? But we need to, yes ma'am.
Maybe we don't go and seek them. if we notice we're missing someone, maybe we don't go until they've gotten hardened because we didn't go.
Yes.
And then we lose so many that way, because most of us are babies when it comes to our own personal lives, and stronger Christians need to be there for the weak ones who, it's like, I'm a great example of that hasn't been here in the last 3 weeks. I don't even have his phone number or anything, and I can't remember his name right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And this is a hard time right now because a lot of people are not showing up because of, fear of getting sick, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But, so it's kind of hard to keep up with somebody that not being here. Well, maybe they're just staying home, because I know there's a lot of people that are just staying home because they don't want to take a chance. They've locked themselves up.
It's not like we're a 300-person congregation. There's no reason why, if somebody's not here, we shouldn't at least,
Hey,
Right.
I noticed you weren't here,
Yeah.
yesterday or today or whenever we call them.
Yeah, because Ruth called me last night and she said that she won't be coming for a while because of this. She doesn't want to get a chance of getting infected. So we know Ruth is not going to be here. Yes, ma'am.
It's just like I got a phone call, text. I was here Sunday, but she realized that I had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we could even be sitting in the church building, and in this case, it was recognized. But usually we're sitting in the church building and we don't recognize it.
Right, and that was my comment. I said people could be here, but because they're not acting the way they normally do, they're not sticking around and talking, they're not being social, then we say, hey, something's wrong, and, with Joe Blow, and we go and, chase Joe Blow down and find out what's going on, what's happening, or call them later if you want to,
His name's
whichever.
Robert, by the way.
What's that?
Robert.
Robert Pearson.
Oh, Robert, okay.
I have missed him.
That's fine. But yeah, it doesn't matter. If either they're not here or they're here and they're not here, even though they are here. But we need to take account and be responsible to check up on our brothers and sisters. And by that I mean just talking to them. Like today, talk to Glenn and say, hey, how you doing? And he's like, oh, I've got problems, I've got issues, whatever. I could tell that you were down, and find out what's going on. Maybe you just had a bad golf day yesterday. We don't know. Betty?
I did.
He did.
It doesn't matter where you are, the precautions you take. If God wants you to be sick, you're going to get sick. No
Yes.
matter where you are.
Yeah, and I've made that comment myself. Well, if the Lord, He's watching out after me, and we'll see that again later in our sermon. We'll talk about that with Daniel. But you can, He also helps those who help themselves. I can't say, well, I'm going to walk across this, swamp filled with alligators, and the Lord's going to take care of me. Otherwise, I'll get eaten. You're more than likely going to get eaten. We can't be stupid about our Christianity either.
You can also observe them doing something wrong out
Right.
around, and that's another one. Or somebody can tell you, hey, I saw so-and-so doing this. What do you think of that?
Mm-hmm.
So you find out things that way too.
Okay. But what is our biggest excuse of not helping somebody else?
Don't want to hurt their feelings.
Don't want to hurt the feelings.
Too busy.
Don't want to get involved.
Don't have time.
Or don't have time. There's 3 good ones. Okay. I was thinking of not wanting to get involved, but these are all 3 good examples. Okay.
I don't have a problem.
I've got my own problems. What's that?
Don't have a phone or their number.
Okay. And that's a good excuse to not call somebody else who has their number and find out. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't know have their number, so I'm not going to call. So, okay, I'm safe now. Okay. But again, it's excuses that the devil's putting in us to not take care of our brother and our sister. Okay? And we need to realize that. And we need to step over that stumbling block and go on with what it is that we need to be doing.
Most of the time it's, hey, how you doing? Fine, and you go on. Because if someone says, I'm really not doing well, and there was an example of that, a friend of mine that said she had just had one of the worst weeks of her life, and a man of the church, whatever, came and said, hey, how's it going today? And she said, absolutely terrible. I've had a horrible week. Well, that's great. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
And he never heard
Didn't hear.
anything.
Yeah.
It was just, hey, how you doing? Which is a normal greeting.
Right.
But if you don't want to know, don't ask. And if you do want to know, listen to what they say.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, and that's what we need to do, because like she said, it's more just autopilot. Hi, how you doing? Okay, good. You don't care. You're not interested. It's just, oh, that's what I'm supposed to say. That's a polite thing to say. But when we're doing it, we need to listen, okay? Because they might not come out and say, oh, I've had a terrible week. It might just be the way they respond, their actions and the way they look, and you can just tell that they're having a bad time. And then that's where we as a Christian need to be concerned about our brother and sister, and that we need to talk to them and say, hey, what's going on?
But, the normal response, at least for most people, I think, is that if I ask you how you doing, you're going to say, oh, okay, or fine, or whatever. You may have had a horrible week. You may be down, and you can usually hear that in their voice or see it in their face or something. But a lot of people will just simply say, fine. So if you're not listening, if you're not watching, if you're not involved with that person,
right,
you're not going to know that they just had a very bad week.
Right. And we also need to be non-verbal cues, as she said, but we need to be concerned instead of, how are you doing? Well, please say good, please say good, please say good, please say good.
Yeah.
Because if you are really concerned about your brother and sister and you ask them, how are you doing, then you need to be ready for whatever they respond with and be concerned about that brother and sister. Don't say, oh man, please don't say you've got a bad week. Please don't say that, you're hurting, Please don't say you need help.
Yeah,
because then we're not being a concerned Christian, are we?
So why are we reacting that way when we say we're having a great week? Well, that's good in the Bible.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask them why they have a great week? Why are you doing? I respond all the time. I'm having a great day. Things are going well. And why is that? Are they doing that wrong? I had good company with my customers, and everybody's in a good mood. I helped to encourage people to be a little more positive towards stuff going on versus going on.
Yeah.
So we can react in other ways. You say, oh, really? Because it may encourage you to go, well, maybe my attitude's not that good. Maybe some positive will.
Yeah, and that's a good point. When people respond back with a good, oh, I'm having a great week. Okay, just don't blow it off. Well, why? Well, I had a great golfing day. I actually, hit par on every, whatever. I don't know golfing terms, but, I didn't, so, like you said, be upbeat and, hey, why are you having a good week? What's going on? Share it with me. I need to have a good week. So
only 52 over par.
Yeah.
Had a good day.
So again, when we're talking to our brothers and sisters, especially those who have been overtaken with sin, we need to be careful. We need to be compassionate. We need to remember these fruit of the Spirit. Okay, but what's our biggest goal?
To bring them back.
To bring them back. Okay, and sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes they're sunk into it. They've got their roots back into the sin. And you've got to be careful with them, okay? And treat them gingerly. But the thing is, we need to recognize it, and we need to talk to them, and we need to do whatever it's going to take to get them out of the sin, to get them out of the clutches of the devil.
Can I have a line with that, Ginger? You
Sure.
said we need to be ginger. Can I have some line with it?
Okay.
Not the time.
That was a good one, Caleb. He's listening. So,
Levity.
yeah. But, so yeah, we need to be careful, you know, and how it is that we talk to them. But our main goal is to bring them back. Now, can we always bring them back by ourselves? No. Okay? There might be a case to where they're just so embedded in and got their claws, you know, into that root that they don't want to let go of it. And you might need to come to somebody else and say, hey, you know, not to gossip, okay? We can't do that, but it's like, you know, brother so-and-so is having this problem, you know, and I don't know how to help him. You know, can you go talk to brother so-and-so and see if you can help him, you know? And it might be something that I might have better, you know, aspect in and understanding and be able to help him than you might not be able to.
Well, in a regular family, brothers and sisters,
No, we don't
I mean,
go
we
there.
may all kind of love one another, but we have clashes between. So there may be certain brothers and sisters that don't, you know, I mean, we can be brothers and sisters, but we aren't always going to be in tune with one another.
Right.
So if I come to you and we're not the in-tune couple, you might be more resistant to anything I would say,
Yeah.
as opposed to you and Glenn are in tune. So if I go to Glenn and Glenn, you know, we can't work it out, I go to Glenn and Glenn can talk to you and maybe things will click then. So, you know, yeah, it's sometimes we have to, it's not in a sense of gossip, but we may have to, you know, that's where it says, you know, if you go to a brother, you know, and then if he don't listen to you, what do?
Take somebody with you.
Take somebody with you.
Take somebody else, yeah.
Try to find that person that may have a better connection.
Yeah, and gossiping would be to where I go to Glenn and say, Glenn, did you hear about brother so-and-so?
Yeah.
He's just really having this bad problem, you know, and just, you know, he's not coming to church or anything else. And then I go, Kay, did you hear about brother so-and-so? He's really having this problem. He's really gone off the deep end, yada, yada, yada. I'm not seeking their help. I'm spreading the gossip.
Yeah.
I'm spreading the rumor. I'm spreading his weakness to everybody else. But when I go to Glenn, I say, Glenn, you know, brother so-and-so is having this issue, and I've tried talking to him, but I can't seem to reach him. Okay? Would you mind going with me and let's talk to this brother together? Okay? Because I'm concerned about this other brother's soul. I'm concerned about him being in the clutches of the lion, of the devil. And I've got to love him enough to do whatever it takes to bring him back. What did Jesus say about the one sheep? The 99 are safe? Does he worry about those? No, they're safe in the pen. They're being watched by the other shepherd or the dog, or just safe in the pen. I'm concerned about that one. And we need to have that same concern and love and understanding to do whatever it takes to find that lost soul and to bring them back to the 99.
The latter part of that verse about consider yourself, I mean, say the person that you notice having a problem, the trespass, maybe it's gambling.
Right.
Maybe your weakness is gambling also. Now you might go to them, but if they're resistant, it might be better for you to get away from the situation, because if they're stuck in it, could you be drug into it also?
Right.
So that would be another sense where it might be best to go to Glenn, where his problem is alcoholism, but it's not gambling.
Right.
You know?
Unless they serve alcohol in the casino.
Well, that's true, yeah.
You're really picking on me today.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be careful, because sometimes when you say you're going to, like what you said is correct and what Garrett said, but you can be concerned about somebody, and I think you can gossip about them.
Right, and that's what you got to be careful
I
of.
think you need to be careful.
You do. You do need to be careful. Again, and gossiping is where I go to, you know, somebody else, you know, and I talk about this person over here's problems and issues, but it's not to help this person, it's just to talk about them. That's gossiping. Okay? When I'm going to Glenn and when I go, I go to Terry, and I say, Terry, you know, somebody's having issues, and we need to go talk to him, then I'm not gossiping. I'm getting Terry to help me to take care of this brother or sister that's, has fallen away.
But do you have to tell what the problem is? In my situation, I had a child that I couldn't reach. So I would ask Alex and Christy, because they knew him, would you please talk to him?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention anything that was going on. And I think that's the way that we need to do it. Not, okay, my son is in alcohol, my son's in drugs, which he's not anymore, but we should not point that problem out to whoever we send.
Yeah.
Please go talk to him, see if you can encourage him.
Well, I think it would all depend on the circumstances and all, but it's kind of hard for me to go with Glenn to go talk to Terry if I don't know what's going on with Terry. Whereas if he tells me and lets me know, then we can go in as a united front to talk to Terry. Then I'm just there as like, okay, Terry's got a problem, but I don't know what it is. So, to me, it's better knowing what's going on to be able to help Terry better than just going in there, because he's already talked to Terry and he hasn't gotten anywhere with him.
Mm-hmm.
So how am I going to help Terry if I don't know what's going on?
Well, that goes
Okay, come on in.
to verse 2, bear one another's burdens. You can't bear somebody else's burden if you don't know what that burden is.
Right, and we'll get into that. Don't go any farther. That's next week.
You're
Yes,
getting
ma'am.
ahead of me.
I know.
Yes, ma'am. Betty?
I've always believed that everybody else's problems were bigger than my own.
They are.
Well, I've got a problem right now that is a huge problem. It's affecting my heart, and my energy is just like somebody had taken a straw and sucked it all out. We found out last Wednesday, Wayman has got a good-sized cancer in his colon. And we have an appointment with an oncologist to decide what to do about it. It'll be a week from Monday. So I would like prayers for me and my strength and for Wayman. He's so far, I don't know if he's in denial or what, but he seems to be taking it quite well.
Okay.
He's not in any pain.
Come on in. All right. Steve, go ahead. Yes, we need to remember